All right. Good morning. Isn't the food here awesome? My name is Luke Olson. I'm on staff at Stevens Point. Yeah, go Pointers, right? And I'm a married man. My wife and I are coming up on our 5th year anniversary this January. We have 2 children, Ezra, age 3, Elijah, age 10 months. And my son Ezra loves stories, just loves them. Drags me into his room every couple of nights and begs me to hear my rendition of Ezra Bagans. Famous Hobbit of the Spire. That's the Stevens Point Shire. This is what happens when you're a Lord of the Rings geek and you grow up and have children. You do these things to your children. So he loves stories. I love stories. Ezra, before he ever learns to read or write, will have a fundamental understanding of the characters and the plot of Middle-earth because of the power of the story. Stories are amazing teaching tools. Amazing teaching tools. I have a story this morning. And the thing about stories is the truer they are, the more they captivate us. And the more personal they are to us, the more they rip us, they pull us in. My story this morning is both true and personal. In fact, you're one of the main characters in my story. You didn't know that you were part of it, but you are. So my story this morning is simple enough for children to comprehend, yet profound enough that it has captivated the hearts and minds of some of the sharpest folks in the last 2,000 years. My story this morning is abridged. I only get 20 minutes of your time, so not everything that could be said will be said. I trust that the conversation will continue. It's a big story. This is just a little pamphlet, right? So it is sufficient today to tell you what I think God wants to communicate to you today. In 20 minutes, that's what we're going to try to do. Big task, right? First, consider these words of Jesus of Nazareth. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. In the beginning, God created everything good. Death wasn't on the menu for the first humans. They didn't have to wonder what God was like or whether or not He cared for them. Yet, the first humans rejected God's care and protection and questioned His authority over their lives, resulting in physical and spiritual death, both for them and for their offspring after them. Their rejection of God's authority and care introduced death into the world. Humans would henceforth toil and struggle for a little while, eventually succumbing to death. We would inherit from our first ancestors a rebellious nature bent on casting off the authority of God and establishing our own little kingdoms. Even worse, God withdrew His immediate presence from us. His disposition toward people turned to patient endurance, storing up wrath, righteous, indignant anger, the stuff we feel for murderers and rapists, for a day when He would set all things right and judge all sin in the world, and everyone who would persist in their rebellion against Him. Hopelessly, humans tried to escape the consequences of sin and the curse. Yet good behavior could not satisfy the growing debt of sin and rebellion. So God, in an epic demonstration of His love, sent His Son into the world to mount a rescue effort. Jesus, the main character of my story today. The teachers of the day accused Jesus of blasphemy, which was a capital offense in Jewish culture. He claimed to be God's own Son, to have the authority to forgive sin, and to be the only way to the Father. What Jesus said was scandalous then, and it's scandalous now. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So the religious leaders killed Him on a cross. A bloody, horrific execution of the only innocent man who ever lived. But Jesus said that no one was taking His life, but that He was laying it down. Jesus went to the cross voluntarily, motivated by love for sinful, rebellious human beings. And what he accomplished on that cross was of massive significance for you and for me. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, laid down his life as a ransom, capable of purchasing from death all who would believe and come to him for forgiveness. Christ's death has the power to purchase us from the consequences of sin. And when the debt of life, which was owed to God, was satisfied, God raised him from the grave, an event witnessed by over 500 people. Jesus then took his seat at the right hand of God, where he presently rules and reigns, and has the power and authority to grant forgiveness to all who will come to him, turn from their rebellion, and put their trust in him, thus restoring a relationship with God the Father. This is the part of the story we call the climax. You're just scratching the microphone. You have no idea how happy that makes me. This is my best attempt at growing here. This is also the point in the story where we stop talking about all people and we start talking about you. I told you before that the story is true and personal. Jesus Christ came into the world to save human beings from what, you ask? From sin. Well, what's sin? Sin is the cherishing and doing of anything which is counter to God's nature. Ooh. Sin is the cherishing and doing of anything that's counter to God's nature. That's what sin is. Think of it like this. If God is, morally speaking, a straight line, a marker, and we're created in his image, another straight line, parallel to him, right? Sin is anything that you engage in, or, sometimes we don't think about this, fail to engage in, that puts a bend in the line. They're not parallel anymore. There's a problem. That's what sin is. Parallel lines. I'm a fidgeter. Everybody from Point probably can attest to the fact that you see me, I'm drumming. Used to do it in high school, get in trouble. So I bring a paper clip to class instead and try every day to bend a paper clip perfectly straight. Here's what I have found, universal principle. Lock this away, here's wisdom. You cannot, by your own effort, straighten a paper clip. It can't happen. There probably is some machine that can do it, but you can't do it, I guarantee it. Not perfectly straight, some micrometer it's off. The same is true about your spiritual life. The default position is bent. It's a bent paper clip, and you cannot by your own power bend it straight. Trust me, I've tried.